Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. Today, sorry guys, just like up and down the stairs because I forgot my palettes. I took all my palettes down to wash them. And then I came upstairs and I forgot them. So I had to run down the stairs and come back again. Should have hit my inhaler before I did, or before I started. But anyways, we're here and we're doing it. All right, it's going to be great. Today we are checking out, oh good, okay, excellent. So today we're going to check out some things that I was sent by one of our viewers and one of my patrons, Rob. So huge shout out to Rob. Thank you so much. I guess you're sponsoring today's live stream. Rob sent me a watercolor pad and a special palette that was curated by a fellow YouTuber. And so let me get you down to the desk so you can see what I'm talking about, and we can dive right in because there's gonna be lots of painting. There's Rob. Hi Rob. Thanks for sponsoring today's stream. And hopefully you guys aren't having a problem, because once again, YouTube is telling me there's an error, but it doesn't look like it on my side. You guys let me know if everything was okay. Hopefully it's still okay. All right. Excuse me. Ooh. So here we have, this is the pad that Rob sent. Now I have everything linked in the description below, with the exception of this. I did link to other round watercolor blocks. This one he got from Temu, I believe he said. He found it on there. And it says professional watercolor paper, acid-free, cold press, glue bound, right? Ideal for watercolor techniques and mixed media. Included a sheet opener. So this guy looks kind of like a letter opener, and it actually has like a little clip. That's pretty cool. I like this. I've used that quite a few times already. It is 300 GSM, 140 pound, 7-inch diameter, and there were originally 24 sheets. If you saw the cover, the thumbnail for today's video, this was something I was trying to practice because, guys, florals are not my jam. Not gonna lie. You don't see me do too many florals. There's a reason for that. But he sent me and Paint Crush, which is Christy Rice. If any of you are familiar with her channel, I did tag her to let her know that I was doing this today. Oh my goodness. It will settle down. I promise. It's because I just ran up the stairs. It's the asthma kicking in. Oh, excuse me. It is the believed to be asthma kicking in. They haven't tested it yet. That's coming. Just another new fun thing to have to deal with. Anyhow. The Making Art for Joy's Sake palette by Christy Rice. Those are the paints that Rob sent me. We are going to be checking those out today. And this is a very unique palette. Now, Christy, if any of you are familiar with her channel, Christy does a lot of floral work. She does a lot of florals. She does some landscape too, but she does a lot of florals. This palette is very conducive for that. I mean, it's very, let me just show you the swatches. I swatched these out. Those are the 12 colors. They kind of go like here, and then here would be the second row, and then these here would be the third row. So these are some bright, bold choices. And one thing that I will say is when I was looking at it, the colors, these are the names for the colors. They don't even have like your traditional names. And I'm sure that there is a method to Christy's madness, because the whole purpose of this palette is art for joy's sake. I think that's part of her, part of her philosophy is like, don't think too much about it. Just do it and have fun and embrace it and just dive in. And with these names, like, right, fearless, calm, sweet, fierce, delve, tend, thrive, growth, blossom, passion, punchy, and flow. Those are the names of the colors. Now, in looking at these, I was looking like, especially these, I was like, I don't know if those are going to be very light fast, because they look like they may be colors that would be very typical as like a fugitive pigment. For those of you who, like me, I love pigment information. No pigment information is included with this palette. However, again, I believe that that comes right back to the whole point of this palette. Christy is not, she's not concerned about light fastness, because all of her art, she ends up spraying with a UV protectant and then either puts it behind UV glass if it's going to be on display, or if she sells it, it either goes behind UV glass or she lets the buyer know that it needs to be behind UV glass. So it's been sprayed with UV and then also putting it behind the glass. This is how she protects her work. She just loves the colors. She loves playing with watercolor. If you guys haven't seen her channel yet, like I said, I did tag her in the description, so you can click on where you see @Christy Rice and it would take you there over to her channel to check that out. I definitely recommend it. She has so much fun. She just seems like a very, very genuine, caring individual, and sometimes I enjoy just kind of checking out her channel and seeing what she's doing. Now, my hat is off to her, because she makes this look simple, my friends. She makes it look so easy. And yeah, I did not find it quite so easy yet. But that's okay. That is okay. I'm just going to take these and I'm going to set them up here so that I will be able to see them as I am trying to mix up colors today. Now, can I just say, in my practice, I have found this to be a bit of a challenge, because if you look at and this is my little Daniel Smith palette, but about the same size, only I've crammed a whole lot more colors in there. But if you notice, the ones that I use the most, I just place that there, that corresponds with my colors. Like, my neutral tint is almost gone. My lunar black's almost gone. Sap green's almost gone. There's moon glow and lunar blue. I actually just put more into that one the other day. So, of course, my split primaries up here, I use those regularly. I have found that even within my own palette, there's a color that every time I'm using this palette, I'm like, oh, it's not, and then it's not there. There's like a color that I want that's not there. So that's one thing that I can say. If you don't know, if you're just starting in watercolor and you don't know what kind of a palette, like to put together a custom palette, like this is a custom palette made by Christy. She uses this all the time. All the time. She mixes beautiful colors with it. She is used to this. This works very well with how she paints. Now, to find your palette, or for me to find my palette, the palette that's going to work the best for me without having this huge overabundance of colors like we all worry about. You gotta have so many colors, right? Or full set syndrome. And then you have like so many paints that are just sitting there. Or maybe you're just getting started and you want to know, what do I need? What am I going to use? If you buy a palette that has more than 12 or 24 colors, and you start using that palette, you are going to find that, like me with this palette, there's going to be certain colors you always go after. Those are going to be the colors you want to put in your custom palette that's made specially for you. Because the things that you gravitate towards painting are going to require a certain palette. And when you paint like this, like I'm going to redo, using this and practicing with this has taught me that I want to customize my own palette a little bit more from my everyday palette that I take if I go out plein air painting, or just, I want to paint and I don't want to think about the paint. I want the paint to act and react exactly how I'm used to, and I'm not trying out a new type of paint. Then that's the palette where you don't have to think about that. You can just think about what you're painting, or just get in the flow and think about nothing at all and try to relax. That's the palette I want to create. The one that's going to be full of the colors that I always go for anyways. So my moon glow is running very low. Like that's moon glow right there. And it is. You guys see that? Yeah, it's almost gone. So this one here, which is, Soda Light Genuine, because that's a beautiful color. But you see where we're headed here. Like if you look at these colors here and like here, I like more muted, moody colors. I don't know. Maybe it just fits my personality. Don't judge. I'm not judging. So, excuse me. This palette, from what I've seen on YouTube, absolutely fits Christy's personality. She is in it. So it's the new Gamboas, yeah. But that's in my split primaries. So I use those a lot, and I mix a lot of colors. So I definitely think that this fits Christy's personality, right? Like she is like so bubbly and full of energy, and she is up. I mean, we're not always up every 100% of the time, but generally speaking, when you watch one of her videos, that's the energy she brings forward. And she does a lot of fun floral and experimenting with colors. And she's recently had a couple videos where she tested out some watercolor palettes and cotton paper. That was a great one that I watched recently, and now have more paper on the way. Yeah, I try not to watch too much because it just adds to the studio. But since I don't normally paint florals, I was like, well, I wanted to set this up so everybody would know that it would be coming, and get it posted out there on YouTube. So everybody knew the stream was going to be happening this week early. So I just did this, and I was like, Christy says it's a piece of cake. I'll just dive right in. Don't think about it. And so I did. I have roses that look like blobs. And like my greenery is like wonky and just all weird everywhere. It was the first time I had used her palette, and I was like, oh, the colors. It's like bright colors that I'm not all necessarily used to painting with, and trying to learn to make mixes and things like that to get colors that I think I would want. And I think in the beginning, I was trying to get the palette to mix colors and make the things that I would use, like the colors I would gravitate towards from my palette. And that's just not possible. I'm not going to get a ton of dark, muted, or, deeper anything with this palette, because everything is so bright and fresh, and it's like, hello, here we are. So you'll see. I'm sure that I'll probably still have a little bit of a struggle as we go today, but I'll be giving it my best. So that was attempt number 1. And then I thought, well, clearly, and I wanted fun, loose, because that's another thing. I tend to paint tighter, and I've been really trying to focus on loosening up, getting things much looser, and just kind of going with that and seeing how that does for me versus tighter, more realistic looking paintings like my lighthouse that's up there. Very realistic watercolor. I absolutely loved doing that painting, but I also want to be able to loosen up and relax in some of it as well and not be so stressed about it. It has to be perfect, right? Practice makes better. Practice doesn't make perfect. So, and I mean, that's how I feel. That's my opinion. You can agree. Drop a comment if you're watching this on the replay. Let me know. But practice makes better. I think that should be where we focus versus focusing so much on being perfect. So attempt number 2, I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start by writing down just a bunch of like flowers that come to mind, greenery that comes to mind, maybe some insects or something that come to mind. And then I traced out part of my circle and drew in a bunch of the things that I thought of. And this is what I came up with. Now, I absolutely do not like my rose. I just think it's a pink blob that distracts you from the rest of the painting. But I'm pretty happy with the rest of it. But like I said, this was practice piece number 2. I don't do florals generally. It's rare. I mean, if there's a flower in a landscape that I'm painting or something, you know, I'll put that, or impressions of flowers. Those are just little dots. Those are simple. But, you know, trying to get a design. So that was attempt number 2. That definitely taught me a lot. And so today I have one sketched out, and we are going to use these paints again. And this is just a guideline for me to remember what I'm doing. If you saw my post on Instagram earlier, I did a lupin. Excuse me. And so I'm going to paint a lupin here, and we're going to get some lavender in here. Although I personally don't care for the smell of lavender. It's just one of those scents that sets my sinuses off. But I think it's pretty. So I'm going to put some of that in there. We got a pansy, our lupin, of course, our lupin leaf, which is very distinct. The hydrangea, I really like the hydrangea, so we're going to go for it again. I struggled with that hydrangea. And when I finished, I was like, this is horrible. And then I left the studio, and then I came back like a half hour later. I was like, oh, that's actually not that bad. I was like, it's fine. Just let it go. It's fine. It's good enough. So I threw in some coneflowers down here, some little forget-me-nots, and of course the mushrooms, because I just loved the way the little mushrooms came out down at the base. So we're going to keep that. I didn't do the foxglove this time, and I didn't throw in a morning glory or the twigs with the berries, but you know, who knows? We'll have to see how much time we have and what happens as we get into this. Okay. First, I'm going to check in with the chat. Oh, the brushes that I'm using today are I've got my silver white brushes again by Silver Brush. And today I'm bringing in, because I've seen Christy paint with them numerous times, she loves to use a dagger when she paints. And I thought, well, maybe that'll make me paint better. I don't know. I really don't know. But I grabbed these to check them out. These are by Mimic, and they are linked below. There's a link to one, and when you click on it, like, you can choose the brushes. It brings you to the page where you can look and choose. So I'm just going to pop these on my old paint puck over here. There we go. That way there, they will be ready when I want them. There. And I thought it was fitting. I grabbed a little flower palette in case I need a little extra mixing space today. So here we go. just going to give these a spritz with them. Now, one thing I will say about these paints, they re-wet beautifully. They definitely re-wet very well. Some of them are more opaque than others. I didn't do a black line when I swatched these. I didn't put a black line down. I should have, because then I could have shown you like which ones like calm. And that makes me think of like a buff titanium. The Fierce is more like almost like a pyro red. Flow is similar, makes me think of like a phthalo blue. Tend, I think, is it's actually looking more green on the screen. Well, it's looking green on my monitor. I don't know how it's looking on yours. But Tend actually makes me think of like a phthalo turquoise. It almost looks like a phthalo green and phthalo blue combined. Growth is very much like an olive green. And Delve doesn't quite look umber to me, but kind of close. Hi, Lizzo Art. Excuse me, it's Lizello Art. And yeah, this is definitely more like a, wow. And right there, it went out of my mind. I was just going to say the color and then that I was thinking, and it's gone. Okay. It doesn't matter because they are what they are, and hopefully we're going to make some beautiful art together with them. Now, let me just go through and say hi to everybody who's here, because Rob, who actually sent the stuff that we're using today, Rob is here, and Tara, I've seen Teresa, and Lizello, D. Lynn was here, and anybody who's watching but maybe not commenting right now, thanks for joining me. I am glad that you're here watching. I will show you how to remove this when we are done. How this works, removing the top sheet when we're done. But I think you're going to see me kind of bounce and move around because I'm going to want to be working on, I want to want some parts to dry before I work other parts that are next to them. So I think I'm going to start with my hydrangea. And if you notice, I'm working in this kind of semicircle here. And that's going to be great because I like to set my hand down. Hopefully I won't mess things up. Wow. I told Lou too when I had to run back downstairs. I was like, I'm going to be coughing now because I like to be upstairs like 15-20 minutes before the stream so that if it kicks in and I start coughing, I don't have to worry about it. And it subsides by the time we start. All right, I'm going to start with the hydrangea because I know that when I was practicing with it, that's the one that kicked me in my backside a little bit. So I'm just going to mix up. I'm going to turn this way just because having it slanted that way works better for me being right-handed. And I'm actually going to mix over here. This palette's going to make me bonkers. Yep. Because it beads. Perhaps we won't use this palette today. I don't think we're going to. Because that will just drive me crazy. Did anybody else just cringe because I wasted paint? No, just me. Like, just me. And yeah, see, like I said, like a phthalo, it was quite staining. 1 second. I was looking. I was like, I just had a new round. There we go. All right. Excuse me. Okay. This is just a round plate. Dollar store. Just a plain round ceramic plate. But look at that. No beading. So, much better. I don't want it leaning more. I want it to be a little leaning more towards the purples and stuff that I want to bring in with this. So we are going to, I'm like, which one? Wow, I made that one dirty, didn't I? And that's one thing, like Christy, if you've ever watched her, she goes from one color to the other color. And here I go, like spreading the paint. Like, I can't just like mix like this. I have to be like the whole plate. You need to encompass everything. Oh, great question. Let me just take one quick moment and answer this. Dylan asked, what's the difference between the white silver brushes and the black? Let me show you. Let me show you. All right. I probably didn't need to rinse that one out. Ooh, don't. Okay. So this is a 4. And this is a 4. So here are, this is the silver black velvet in a size 4 and the silver white in a round 4. First off, let's get that one wet and get this one wet. Silver white is more affordable of the two because they're made with different materials, obviously. Both of them, fantastic point. It's probably not gonna, because my camera's seeing the desk. There we go. So both of them have a fantastic point. Both of them, the brushes are about the same length. Now, the point that's on my silver black velvet is actually quite a bit, I don't think you can see it that way, but anyways, it's a bit pointier. But the other thing is the spring. Now, if you can see this, when I apply the same pressure, the black one will bend way easier than the silver white. So the silver white has a lot more spring to it. The silver black velvet is kind of like, if you know the difference in feeling between, say, a squirrel brush and a Kolinsky brush, like a sable brush. Squirrel is softer. I mean, this will spring back. Don't get me wrong. That's why I love the silver black velvets, because I tried the Princeton Neptunes and I was like, the first time I tried them, I'm like, these are too soft for me. And then I tried the silver black velvet and it's like, it has this softness and this flexibility, but yet when I want it to spring, it springs right back. This one though, it's just like, boom, it's back. Whereas, see, they both come back, but you see how the black still tips a little bit in the direction that it just sprung from? So it's not as firm of a snapback. Again, this is more, I would think more like that sable, it's snappier, whereas this is more like the squirrel and it's softer, but it does have good snap. The silver black velvets are my favorite brushes. Definitely my favorites. But they also cost a lot more. And these are quite a bit more affordable. I do have them linked below. The set that I've shown you that I've been using comes with 4 brushes. You get a script liner or a rigger. The one that I was just showing you, the 4 round, the 10 round, and then the 1/2 inch stroke, or like it's like a flat, but you know, it's longer. So I call that a stroke. And that's the set that I have linked below. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. Yes, the silver is definitely a bit stiffer than the black velvet. And that, my friends, is the difference. So if you've been considering, because silver brush makes some beautiful brushes, and if you've been considering some silver brushes, I definitely recommend either getting a starter set or picking one up. And then I'll have to remember that, Dee. You know, you can grab a set or just pick one up and try it out for yourself. But if you know which type of brush you like best, be it one that has a lot of spring or one that's a little softer, that'll help you make that choice. I don't think you'd be disappointed with the silver black velvet, but I'm not really disappointed with the silver whites either. Did I help? No? Try them both. Try them both. You'll enjoy them. All right. So I'm going to start by just wetting the area where my flowers are going to be. Of my hydrangea. This was definitely outside the comfort zone. But it wasn't stressful either. I mean, I think when, you know, which is why I was like, you know, art for joy's sake, that's the motto of this palette. Maybe I should just do some fun loose florals, just put it down and go for it. And then I was like, all right, let's give this a try and practice, because, you know, I didn't want to wait till we were live to do it for the first time. Although I've done that before, just dive right in the deep end head first and hope for the best. I didn't want to do that this time. I wanted to be able to really give these a try first, so I could give you my honest opinion and at least have some kind of idea what I was doing when we got started. And, you know, it just didn't quite work out so well. Like, I see people that they just start doing these and it's like their composition and everything fits and it just looks beautiful. And I'm like, it's not my jam. And that's okay. But when you're trying to do it, all right, so I want a little bit more watered down blue. And I'm just going to come in here and drop that in around. And you'll see, this is the side where I have my blue, but I did have some of the passion mixed in with it. So I'm actually seeing some separation of color, which I don't mind. It does not upset me one bit. I'm just tipping that to let any of my colors like come down. There we go. I did some erasing on this paper, so I'm hoping that it didn't damage the paper, but we'll find out. Like, I can see right here a mark, and that's where I erased, like, I erased part of the leaf that I had drawn. Yeah, I drone it. Just flew right in there. That I had drawn. Wow. And I forgot to go over, and I'm not worried about it on my hydrangea, but I forgot to go over these lines and pick some of them up. So while that first layer is setting, and I'm loving the separation of colors that I am getting right now. Like, hydrangea is starting to paint itself. Just take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to lift a lot of this out of here. I kept it dark in the beginning so that when I went to show you guys, it would show up on camera. There we go. I can see, you guys might not be able to see it so much. I mean, the pansy I think still shows up a little bit, but I want it to show up some, but I don't want it to be like too dark, so that when I do like paint the coneflowers, it's not too bold. And definitely my mushrooms, because the right side, I don't paint that. I let the right side paint themselves. You'll see what I mean when we get there. I was honored that you sent them to me, and there was definitely no way that I was not going to share them on the channel. And Rob sent these to me during the time that when I was ill, before I came back and got back into working, and completely brightened up my day. And I have been these have been on the top of the list. Like, I've got to get in and use them. And I didn't want to I was like, I don't want to mess up the palette. Like, I wanted to play with them for so long. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess up the palette before we show the palette. It's all good. It's all good. And why we let ourselves get like so worried about some things that just we don't need to worry about. Next, I think I'm going to paint the coneflowers, because they're not touching my flowers, and I need this first layer to kind of dry, because to get this hydrangea, I need to really build up some layers, because like I said, unlike my set where I would just go grab a dark blue because I want to put in shadows around some of these flowers, I can't do that because that's not how this is. I have to build it up in layers. So we are going to let that dry. We're going to work on our cone flowers. I have some pink here on the palette, which is a mixture of the passion and the punchy kind of put together. I'll mix up a little bit more so you can kind of see what I did, but that's what that is. So we're going to go ahead and use that because I liked it for the cone flowers. And yeah, I watch Christy with her palette, and she like dives from one color right into the next, and I'm like, I don't want to get my colors dirty. Is anybody else like that? Drop a comment and let me know. Do you like fret over getting your your colors dirty? Like my yellow, look how nice and clean that actually is. It's dirty right now, and that's like, ready for this? That's dirty for me. Like, I think I hit it with one of these colors and went in there. Usually I'll clean it out, but anyways, it does get to me. I'm gonna set this aside. This is our hydrangea paint, and I'm just setting that over there. I may use it for something else as well, but I'm just getting it out of the way while we do these. Excuse me. Well, yeah, yes, Steelan and Tara are both like correct in how you can use it. Yes. Oh, see, thank you, Rob. You always make me feel better. Rob says I'm the same way. I'm like, can't make my palette dirty. That won't spark joy. It'll be just terrible. I am laughing at Lizella art. Oh my gosh, that's excellent. If you're watching on the replay, drop a comment and let me know. Palette, clean? Can it get dirty? Does it matter? The answer is no, it doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong answer. I just want to know, what's your take on it? All right. I'm going to start by painting in, and I'm not going to paint in all of these. And this is where, see, I knew I was doing it to myself. I drew in some little lines. It's a little hard to see. Oh, all of a sudden they all appear. I was missing a bit. And I don't need glasses. Unless my eyes are tired. I got like, I guess pink water right there. I had too much water in my brush. And so you'll see me sometimes just grab it and press like a towel. I do have my old nasty paint rag over here. But usually I'll grab the paper towel because if I press that just below or at the base of the belly of the brush, it'll pull out the extra water and not suck up. See, right now that's just pulled water. It hasn't, I just got paint. So I can come back in and now I'm not leaving pools of water all over my poor paper where I don't want them. I'm like, trying to design this, like I thought about, for those who watch Joseph, that is one of my moderators. He has a channel here on YouTube and he live streams on Mondays. Same time that I go live on Thursday, he goes live on Monday. If you've never seen it, maybe pop in and join us one day. I'm a moderator over there for him. We have lots of fun in his chat. But anyways, he recently designed his own, the artwork on a skateboard. And he did a bunch of flowers on the back of it. And the way they just all fit together and they looked fantastic. And I'm like, all I need to do is fill half a circle. Brain says no. My brain says no. Yeah. Dylan says they're not dirty. It's leftover creativity. See, and I try to read the chat and I can't read the chat. And, you know, or I could look like Mrs. Claus, you know, and just keep reading over my glasses. Look down and I can do both that way. Just, you know, I'm going to look like a granny. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Truth is, I probably wouldn't mind. I have found I've, since starting YouTube, certainly developed a thicker skin. Should I say a thicker skin and a new way that I respond to things I disagree with? Nope, we're all entitled to our own opinions. We all have them, and it's okay if they're not the same. I can take it. I say it all the time. Excuse me, I think I've told Tara this before. I'm like, I just think of it like a piece of gum. If I put something out there and you don't like it, and here, this is, can I just say, here's some advice for all artists out there. We create our art, we put it out there, and some people will not be able to help themselves. They will feel the need to comment and tell you all about it, what might be wrong, etc. First off, That's their opinion, right? They're entitled to their opinion, just like you and I. But when you take their opinions, like, think of it like a stick of gum. If I offer you a stick of gum and you don't want it, my feelings aren't going to be hurt. Just put it back in the pack and I get another piece of gum for later. Not me personally, because I can't chew gum because of TMJ. But you get what my point. It's just a stick of gum. Why are we going to be upset about that, right? We're not. So if I put out my art and you don't like it, well, I guess you don't like that kind of gum, and that's fine. And if you leave your opinion and I disagree, I mean, I'm not saying rudely leave an opinion. For that, I have a wonderful button that YouTube gives us, which just says, oh, you can't see my channel anymore. You didn't like it anyway, so you won't mind. But as far as letting it get to us, if we put our artwork out there and somebody doesn't like it, it was just a stick of gum that wasn't their flavor, and that's okay, right? We get really, it's our art. I get it. Like, we've created this and we've put our time and effort into this. And especially if somebody just like rips it apart, and that, like, unless I've asked you for your critique, I really don't need it. But critique and opinion, you know. So anyhow, yeah, Tara said yes. I did tell her that. I'm like, it's just a stick of gum, so it doesn't matter. If you put your videos out there, or you put your artwork out there, or you post on Instagram, or you share your art somewhere else and somebody doesn't like it, it's okay. Because you know what? You're still good enough. Your artwork is good enough. Your effort is good enough. And it doesn't matter if it's not somebody else's flavor of gum. You see what I'm saying? That's today's little nugget. I managed to get back off the soapbox without tripping and falling. All right. I'm like, I better pick up the pace. We'll run out of time. Is it more painting, less talking? Maybe. And I do, yeah, okay. I was like, I do have this on camera where you can see, right? I didn't pull it towards me too much. Sounds like something I would do. Oh, thanks. You like my whole granny thing I got going on here? Oh, it didn't like show up. Yeah, it's my best granny giving you words of wisdom. It's just for these little fine ones. Of course, then my eyes will be like, oh, thank you, I don't have to work, and I'll take these off, and then they won't want to work. And then that's always fun too. I'm like, I don't know why, but today I am holding my brush like way down near the ferrule, like way down, like it's a pencil. I think it grabbed my attention because I actually touched the bristle. I'm like, oh, what's going on? They definitely go on. Now, for this being wet, painting wet into dry, I'm getting really nice even washes with these. Let me bring that closer so you can see that. Like, I'm getting beautiful, nice even washes. And look at the color separation over here with these hydrangeas. Loving it. Loving it. I don't know why I have to tell you twice, but I did. All right. Oh, I missed a petal on this one. One more over here. And you will see me come back to this to do another layer because I'll have to throw in a few shadows. Again, I do not know why I'm like so choked up on my brush here. Okay, wow, those were like blinding. I think another thing that I can do right now is put in our excuse me, the forget-me-nots, because I can do those without them touching other things. So again, these are another tiny flower, so keeping up the granny look for a little bit longer. I want some blue, but I want it to be a nice pale blue. I want it to be a little bit warmer, so I'm just grabbing a little bit of that. The color from our flowers here. Not working. Take a little bit of that. There we go. Perfect. Just enough to warm that up. Okay. Our little forget-me-nots down here. And see, again, I knew. I was like, you should take some of the water out of your brush. Because I had just rinsed my brush and went to a different color. So there's just way too much water, and I'm just kind of rolling that. And I see it started to show up some of the color. I know I've gotten all the excess water out of it. And now I'm getting that perfect shade of blue that I want. Forget-me-nots. They're just like a bunch of little... I don't know if they're 4 or 5 petal flowers, but in my world, they have 4. Today they have 4. And the centers are like yellow with almost like a little white ring around it. And I am going to pop the yellow in later after my blue dries. And you see that some of them are getting lighter than others. That's okay. It's because I'm running out of paint on my brush. And then I'll come back and I'll get a darker one. And actually, the color of them isn't quite this warm. It's actually a cooler blue. Excuse me, but I wanted it to kind of go along with some of the other flowers that are going to be in this painting. So my happy little flowers are a little bit warmer blue. And I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Like, I was so intimidated by watercolor that I was like, oh, no, no, no. I'm going to stick with acrylic or pencils or heck, anything but that. And a family member encouraged me to give it a go. And I was like, all right, you know, why not? Like the whole, let's experiment and explore this wonderful world of art. And I loved it. Frustrating when you're trying to learn like water control and things like that. and, you know, layering up and glazing and like all the things. And then you're like, I put that down and why did it move like 3 feet? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's probably the paint you were using, or there was still too much water. So yeah, in fact, I saw Tara had put up the link for Patreon. And it is just started because I have changed up some of my benefits for my Patreon tiers. So if you have maybe thought about it before but weren't sure, it's a great time to check it out again. It might be for you now. I am getting ready to start a series that is going to be tips and techniques. So you will be getting a tip or technique video that's going to really dive into the hows and whys, some of the things that we do in art work or don't work. So if those kind of videos are something you might be interested in, Patreon might be for you. If you enjoy live streams, and would like a little bit more in-depth experience, there are tiers that you can choose either for quarterly or every month. I host a sorry guys, I'm trying to look for my color at the same time I'm talking. Walking and chewing gum. Shouldn't do it. I do a live art hangout. I'm here in the studio. I usually let you guys know what I'm working on, and then you have a choice. You can work on whatever you want to work on, or work on the same thing or with the same medium that I'm working on. And we're live on Zoom. So I put that link out there to Patreon. You get to log in. You can choose how much or how little you want to interact. You can either just text like you're doing here in a live stream to communicate with others, or you can turn on your camera and point it down at your work. You don't have to turn on your microphone, or you could just turn on your microphone, not turn on your camera. It's whatever you are comfortable with. There's so many different levels at which you are able to participate. But I do that depending on the tier. It's either once a quarter, or you can get more, and I do one every single month. But whether you want quarterly access or monthly access would determine which tier you pick. And Rob says our live hangouts are the best. Thanks, Rob. I thoroughly enjoy them. For sure. Yeah, these lines are so small. You're going to see me like glasses on, glasses off, glasses on, glasses off. And it's just because it's one of those days. And it's like rain. It's rainy outside today, and there's too much water on that. It is all raining and yuck outside. So it's not as bright here in the studio, and I don't have my light turned on. I don't have my I have my recording lights on, but my big overhead light in the studio is not on like I normally have it. It's not turned all the way up. It's only at like 50%. So that's also probably making it harder for me to see. But yeah, we are looking forward to more people joining us. And regardless, we always have our Friday chats. We get together and hang out on Discord, and we are live. So it's not like you're posting a message and then, I might see it sometime later and respond back. I am on during a set time, and we are, actively chatting back and forth like you're texting with a friend. And the more art friends we have in our little community, the better. So it's my personal invitation for you to join us. There we go. I know I needed to start laying in some of the center. That one got away from me a little bit, but it's okay. I'm not upset about that. It's fine. It is fine. I need this to be completely dry before I can do the first layer of the mushrooms, so I'm going to let that be. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Well, so we have, yes, yes, Rob is correct. The third Friday of every month. So it is the third Friday of every month that we get together and hang out live in the studio via Zoom. And every Friday, we're live on Discord chatting. Sometimes there can be video involved, but for the most part, it's like the texting back and forth. Currently, and the whole group is chatting. I need to go back in with this. I'm going to do my loop in because I need that to be able to dry in stages as well. And so anyways, yeah, I would love to have some more people joining us. It is a very small group. So that's another thing. If you're like, oh, I don't want to dive into a large group or it might be intimidating, right now is the time to join us because we are a very small group and you're going to have more personal attention during the live studio hangouts. It's a great time if you have questions. Not only could they be answered, it's possible you could get the answer demoed, like, and help you through whatever's got you stuck. So yeah, I hope you guys will. That sounds like it's something that would be for you. Consider that and think about joining us. All right, these are too dark. I grabbed the color and it wasn't quite the color I wanted. And I didn't want to waste it. So I figured, well, I'll just drop it in somewhere else on the painting where it could be useful. And so you're going to see me blot these in a moment. And that's just to lift out some of the excess color because I don't want it this dark. I don't like the way it looks that dark. So if I let that set there for a moment and then just come in, dab it and lift, the marks are still there, but they're much lighter, much lighter. All right. I'm going to do with the same color I did my purple cone flowers. I'm going to lay in the top of my lupin flowers. So if you've ever seen, if you haven't seen a lupin flower has a bottom that looks much like a little bowl. And then it has a top flower that comes like, the top of the flower is like this. And then this in here is open. It doesn't open and close. It just sits like this. And sometimes the bottom colors, I have ones where the bottom color is a different color than the top. And the bees, that's where they go. They go right in those little bowls and they get all the pollen and get their legs all fat and fly away. I have pictures. All right, so you're going to see me do kind of, again, with the too much water. I know this. It's just, it's the talking and doing at the same time. It's not as easy as you guys think. And the ones that face towards us will just be a little dot. I'm just pulling up some of that paint, moving it over. And actually, I'm going to use a smaller brush. And I'm going to grab my number 4 round. I am not even getting it wet. All I want is the paint on that brush. Don't need the water. There's plenty of water in that mixture already. Now we're cooking. And you see, this is one of the things where I was like, okay, loose flowers? Yeah, sure, I can do that, right? Doesn't look like much right now. But no worries, we'll get there. And if you are on MeWe or Facebook, we would love to have you join our art group. It is Exploring Art, and the links are Yeah, I always go the wrong way. Right? No. Down here. The links are right there. Figure it out. I will figure it out. So the links are right here below where I am painting. And we'd love to have you join the community over there. Oh, that's funny. Lizella, are you also East Coast? Are you also East Coast time? I think a lot of times we tend to, when we're doing the studio hangout, we'll hang out sometimes for a good, what, Rob, 3 hours? Like you can jump in at any time while we are still in there and say hello, hang out, have a laugh, grab a project that you're working on, work on something similar to what I'm working on. All right, I probably shouldn't have gone on that one, but it's fine. Oh, okay. It is. Oh, all right. You're on the opposite. We're opposite coasts from each other. Gotcha. Well, see, now the weekly chats would be first thing in the morning for you. We do those at 10:30, so that's 7:30 your time. And that's every Friday on Discord for patrons. All right, those have to dry. That is going to become a lupin, I promise. All right. Ooh, I could probably also, while I'm working in this general area, let's come over here to Punchy and mix us up some of that. And I don't mind it getting a little blue into it. And there we go. Make sure I don't have too much water. Had a big old bead there. Yeah, see, 3 hours. It's studio hangout. Like I'll do a whole project while we're sitting there and just on hanging out, talking, having fun. I gotta turn this a little bit. Thinking of my lavender almost like I think of when I do my evergreen trees, right? Just kind of bouncing it around. I may hit those again just for some variety of color once that's dry. I have one that comes right off the edge here. Just gonna work that in. Once I have the lupin done, I may throw more sprigs in there to kind of fill it up. But for now, just gonna go with the ones I had planned out. We'll definitely come back in and darken some of those up. All right, let's get another layer on our hydrangea here. So we need to, some of these areas are going to be darker, some will be light, you know, some petals will have the highlight. Now it has been raining here all day, Dylan. It's been a rainy day. It's raining up now. All right, here we go. I need an area. I'm really gonna need, see, this is a time where in my palette, I would just grab some neutral tint, desaturate some of this color to get my darkest dark, but I can't really do that. Can't do that here because I don't have a neutral tint. So you may see me like mix up some crazy colors so I can desaturate it, but it's like I could try to mix myself. Some neutral tint. There we go. So I'm going to be using that with a little bit of this to get my dark areas in here. And again, I just want to get some of that water out. And I'm going in for spots where it needs to be its darkest. I may glaze over those with like a blue afterwards so they look more like just deep blue. In fact, I think, why don't we do that? I'll pull some of that over here, pull some of this over here. There we go. Perfect. Now I have more of a indigo. I definitely, yes, I'm going to like that better. Just lifting out a little bit of the other color because I really want to be able to make that look bluer. So I love how these paints re-wet. Definitely. It's going to get a big old mixing mess over here. It's okay. If you like to paint florals, this would definitely be a nice set of paints to have. Just lightening that up just a touch, a little bit of blue in there. Again, just too much in my brush. And when I say too much in my brush, it means when I touch my brush to my paper, I'm actually leaving like a tiny bit of a pool of water on, you know, a little drop of water on my paper. I don't want that. Because as that dries, that's how you get blooms and stuff like that. And I just don't want that. while I have this lighter color, I'll throw some in over here. I'm going to work on a little bit of shading where maybe one petal is overlapping another. And I'm just, because I'm going through, I want to vary, I want to get some variation. So I'm just bringing in a little bit more of a blue, because I don't want them all the same. They're not all going to be exactly the same color. Okay. And here, out on the outer edge, I don't have a ton of, I'm just going to spin, hope that doesn't bother you guys. I'm going to spin it upside down so I can work on this part. I don't have a lot of specific flowers, but I have petal shapes, right? Because, you know, they all, if you've seen a hydrangea, it's just like a ball with flowers. Bunch of little flowers that make up the whole big thing. So I'm just going to vary where these shades of blue and purple appear. And like this purple that's already here, I like that. I don't need to mess with it. Now, if I don't want that to be a hard edge, I am going to rinse my brush out, just clean water, and I'm just going to come here, tap, right, about 3 times on my paper, and I'm going to work around the edge so that that can like dissipate. It may already be too long because, you know, things dry super fast here in the studio, but we'll see. We'll give her a go. And when I do it, I tend to wet into more of the surrounding area so that if it dissipates through and that colors, the pigments start to spread out, you know, they have plenty of room to go. And I could just come back in here, drop a little bit more of that color in the center, and it'll move. Okay, bring a little bit more over here. And again, I'm putting it down here, but I don't want necessarily a hard edge. So I'm just going to come along those edges with a little bit of, and I'm not talking a lot of water. My brush is just damp. It's just dampening the paper so it has a little bit of room to spread, not wetting the paper. Hopefully you get that. If not, you know, drop me a comment, and that would help me know some of the things that, especially like those videos that I want to work on, what kind of things you're looking for. All right. I'm sorry, I just spun it like a record. So see here, I'm in that petal, and if I want the rest of this petal to just gently dissipate and for that color to soften as it grows towards that outer edge, again, my brush is almost, it's not soaking wet, it is just damp. Now when I come over this, This paper is really drying fast. Normally that would just keep moving. Drop a little bit more in there. That should spread as it goes. It'll spread out on that petal. The other thing that I could do, if I wanted to be cautious of not getting hard edges on this outer part, I could come in, wet the petal I want to work on first, and then just drop in a little color and let it kind of move on its own. Right? Or you can come back through too. Just kind of soften that edge right up. A little bit of dry brushing there. Dry brushing is there's a little bit of paint. There's not much water at all in this brush. And I'm just kind of dragging what little bit of paint I have across the surface of the paper. This petal is under. It's definitely going to need more, to be a darker value. It's under this one and this one, so it's deeper into this cluster. There's a spot there that needs to be dark. I don't know if it needed to be that dark, but it is now. Yes, that is true, Joseph. That is absolutely true. Not all hydrangeas are big old balls. Some of them, like the lacy kind, I think of like Queen Anne's lace, but a hydrangea. That is not the color I wanted. All right, I'm just bringing water back into this blue right here because I want just a very soft glaze. So a glaze, there's more water than paint. And when I paint with it, it's not enough wetness in my brush for it to leave a pool or a drop of water, or like a puddle if you would. But it's enough that it just changes the color slightly. See, I want that's deeper, so I needed that to be cooler and push away. And I'm going to glaze a few over here as well. A few spots where we had that lighter pink. Push that back. And so you see I'm just pulling a little bit of this aside. Now I have more water than paint over here. Now I'm going to have a really pale purple. And I can come in here where this is under that one and give that a little bit of glaze of that. Now we push that one back. This one's going to have to be even darker than that one because it's under 1, 2, 3 petals. I don't have any hydrangeas. That is one that I want, but I don't have. No hydrangeas here. All right, I'm gonna need a darker color underneath there. Let's put another glaze on this because we gotta build that up. And actually that one I don't want. I'm gonna get that lifted off. Just wetting it with the, take a clean brush, go over it, lift, better. Because this one's on top. So that one petal there, why that one is buried, but this one's on top. Just happens to be the way I drew it. I just messed myself up turning that. That is going to be casting a shadow there. Just working on some of the shadows that the flowers would be casting on petals below them. Making sure I have them where I might need them. We can't get some elevation going on here. You know what? I want a little bit. Yeah. Better. I feel like, see, this one is just me sucked into this. I'm not talking like I don't normally am. Way too bright. There we go. Better. My ferrule must have had a drop of water. Just dripped a drop of water on there. See what I mean about the mixing and the spreading? And yeah. Getting some of those details. This is the most detailed one, and definitely is the one that I knew would take the most time. but I think we're still on track. It's gonna be one of those that all of a sudden it's just gonna start coming together, and it'll come together relatively quickly. Thanks, Rob. Rob says it's looking good. All right. We're turning a lot more purple than blue. But that's okay. I know there's going to be too much. Keep doing it. Some of the flowers I'd be able to see like detail work in. That's what I'm doing now. Again, my apologies if turning the design messes with anybody. I don't know if that was to me, Rob, or if you were talking to somebody else because I missed it. Okay. All right. I got to darken this up back here. I think we could use a little bit more blue in that space. Not quite that blue, but that's better. There we go. looking for a glaze of purple for right here or right here. Better. Better. All right. A little bolder than I wanted. We're almost there. I did it again. Like, this is the one that is on top. It's not the one I want all that on. That needs to be darker. And there we go. Okay. I think that is just about there. I don't know if the edge is like, I think it's from the glue, you know, of the bonding the paper. Because it's like just a weird little bit on the edge there. It's not taking the paint like it should. Just looking for any spots that might need to be even darker. If you see me tapping, it's just because I want a little bit of that color there, but I don't want it to sink in and stain too bad. Right, I just want a little bit of shadow here, but I want this to be soft. I don't want to get a hard edge there because that one is over that one. Okay. I say okay, and I'm going to move on. And then, of course, I go, oh, but wait a minute, I get that spot. All right, I am leaving it alone for now. Let's go ahead and yeah, that's pretty dry. We're going to paint in our pansy. That'll add quite the pop of color. Oh, and I missed some of my lupins down here. Let me just get those tops in so they have time to be dry so I can come back with the bottoms. I missed like my whole bottom row there. Oops. All right. Pansy. Oh, the third. Okay, Rob. This yellow is quite fluorescent, but you're going to see me use it here before we're done. I'll definitely be using it before we're done. All right, so for my pansy, I want to wet this bottom petal. I paint it kind of like a Johnny Jump Up, like a viola. Here comes that yellow. You ready for it? It is all that and then some. It's bright, but we're going to tone it down just a tiny bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of this blossom, a little bit of this yellow, and we're just going to put that in there. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to paint these two yet because I need that center, I need this bottom petal to be dry before I do that. But I can paint the back two. And the back two, I'm going to take some of this blue that I have left from painting my hydrangeas, and I'm going to grab some of this passion, mix that right in there, grab some more, mix that right in there, and maybe some of the fierce. Want a nice deep, there we go, like a plum, almost like a plum color. And I'm going to paint in one of my back petals. Almost way too much water. Just a tiny bit more, and I'm just going to drop it up at this top edge and just kind of let it move on its own down into that. Okay, and then the one at the back, I'm going to have to wait Just let this dry for just a minute, and then I'll do that back one. Doesn't have to be too long, because if they blend a little bit, that's okay. I won't be upset about that. Leaves, those. Let's do these leaves. Let's get some green. Let's get some green on here. Let's start making it look like something. All right. You know what? I'm going to give this, we're going to try the dagger. We're going to give it a go. This is by Creative Mark, and I'm moving this aside. We'll come back to that in a minute. Come into, this is Growth. Very olive green, and I had some leftover green on the palette. Just going to mix them right up. Okay, I'm coming up here and I'm going to grab a little bit of that Tend. We're just going to cool that color down just a little. There we go. All right, let's see what we got. I'm going to paint our hydrangea leaves. This has like a beautiful point on it. Look how thin you can get those lines with the tip of this. Lovely. That's why I chose this. I want to get right up as close as I can. As close as I can to that flower petal. All right, that dried a little bit, so you're going to see I have that hard edge there right here where it's like one part's darker than the other. Oh my gosh, can you guys hear Tuka downstairs? Just started screaming. We must have walked into that room. He's probably coming to sit to see where I am in painting because he is cooking steak tonight. And I am not near done. Not yet. But we'll see how quickly it moves along here in a moment. All right. So definitely taking me much too long to fill in with that other brush. Just going to rinse that set it aside because in the interest of time, I use the brush that I can paint with faster, which funny is my larger brush. I remember when I first started painting in watercolor, and like I was going to paint in this leaf, you know, and I had like this little brush. I was like, I'm going to paint this leaf. Yeah, no, guys. Get a brush that holds a point well. And hey, how about this? Boom. It only took most of the stream. I didn't realize we weren't like full on desk. But yeah, take that little brush and okay, this one goes right to the edge. So right to the edge it goes. Get yourself a brush that holds a really good point and use the largest brush you can. Like these brushes hold such a good point. It's not hard for me to get in and paint around one of my objects. You needed to see where that line was. You do get some really nice washes with these paints. And I'm depositing more color because I want up here kind of be shadowed. You know, it would be darker. It'd be in a bit of shadow under here as well. There we go. I have one up here. I'm going to get to this one because I'm about to, well, yeah, yes, we're painting with green. We're doing it. Yeah, she's just trying to make her presence known. We found out the other day that Tuca actually is a girl. Tuca has laid 3 eggs. We knew something was up. She was tearing up her little hut she has for sleeping in. She started tearing it up and then dropping everything she was pulling out of it into her water. So she was she was showing nesting behaviors. And we would keep discouraging that by changing out her water every day and removing all of that material. She's still 3 eggs in the bottom of her. Oh, I got a little overzealous there. Right into my flower. There we go. And sometimes you can just take a clean brush that is just slightly damp. If you do it quickly, you won't wet the layer underneath. All right, I need that to be a little darker. Now my brush isn't wet enough to get paint up. I don't even know what color I was going to reach in for a second ago. I just wanted this leaf to be darker. This is another of the hydrangea leaves. There we go. Okay. While that's still on my brush, I'll come back in here, add a little bit of the shadow. And this side is just not quite the same. Not that they have to be, but there. All right. All right. Okay, Rob, have a great rest of your night. All right. I thought for sure I'm gonna get this done. Easy. Right. My brush is gonna be too wet. famous last words. Got this. I want that to be a little darker. Grabbing some more of the blue. And I'm just going to drop it in and let it mix right here on the paper. All right, there we go. Let those dry. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do these mushrooms. So this here, all I'm going to do for my mushrooms, for the tops, is I'm going to take and I'm going to wet them. And I'm going to wet across the whole mushroom. And I'm going to take some of my Delve, the darker brown, and I'm just going to tap it in. Oh, tap it in on that left side. And that is just going to spread over on its own. Okay, same thing again. Take my little mushroom cap. That is a ton of water. Let it sit there for a moment. I'm going to pull up the excess. Let's drop some in. Just along that edge. Now I'm not going right up to the edge because this one beside it is wet. I know that this is going to spread to the left and the right. It's not going to discriminate. The paper's wet, the paper's wet, it will move. So I'm not going to go all the way to that edge. But I am going to encourage it more right than left. And this one is not still wet enough. It's already drying. See, that's the other thing. I can drop that in confidently knowing it's not going to get past that edge because this paper is just drying so quickly. All right. I am going to grab my smaller brush. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of that same color and I'm going to come down. I should have wet it first, but let's try that again. Wet brush, down the stalk. Let that set for a minute. I'm just grabbing this one because it's too dark for what I wanted. Let those set in for a minute. These I'm going to paint dark underneath. And then I have to paint in some greenery over here. And we'll do that next. And then the only thing we have left is the bottoms of these and some greenery. This part will go quickly. So stick with me. Stick with me. It won't be that much longer. I promise. I promise. I would actually like that to be a little bit more on the brown side, but let's try this. It's really dark. Not what I want. See, this is where I'm saying, like, in my own palette, I would want that umber. If I could just grab umber and You'd be just right. Although, let's check out the opacity. One of the colors we haven't used yet is Calm. Calm seems to have a nice mushroom-like color. And I'm just going to bring that right down. And yes, I like that a lot more. In fact, I think I'd like that in the tops of these too. It is definitely more opaque. I'm putting down a little bit of this color and I'm going to grab some water and just kind of move that around. Drop in a little bit more of that. Nope, I didn't grab water for the last one. I want to see if I can lift some of that. I'm actually scrubbing this paper a little bit more than I normally would. Just want to see, because the other mushroom is behind this one. This one would actually be lighter all in front. But that's all right. That's all right. I'll just throw some line work on that one. All right, let's get underneath. Which I probably shouldn't do yet because my tops aren't dry and I don't want this color to go up into the tops. So I'm going to leave that space and I'm going to just wait a minute. See, you start to hurry and you start to make mistakes. All right, taking some more of that yellow, our bright, bright yellow. I'm going to mix it in with this green we had from our hydrangea. Bring in a little bit more. Now see growth? I mean, I'm already like putting a dent in this pan. I would use that color. That color I really like. In fact, if I had actually painted this as fast as I thought I might paint it, I was going to show you that even with this palette, I can still get one of those more moody paintings you would. They'd be more my, I don't necessarily want to say style, but something that I like to paint. There we go. Now, I'm going to paint this part lighter. And then I'm going to darken up underneath here where the leaf comes down and meets that stalk. There we go. There we go. Enjoy the rest of your day, Dylan. Oh, I have another leaf. I'm missing it because I didn't quite draw it in. I just drew a guide. I wanted another leaf to be here. And again, come back and get my darker color and bring that underneath side. Down to the stalk. There we go. And while we're at it, we'll just pull down flowers or forget-me-nots. I'm going to darken a little bit of this up. Not quite that dark. Not quite that dark. Just throwing in some like grassy material back here, just to kind of blend this in together. I want some brighter green. Mix it up. It's just a dirty green. Now that's a dirty yellow. And at the bottom, I'm just picturing that that grass kind of turns to like moss. Maybe there's, you know, a sprig or two that pops up here or there, but now I'm just thinking it's moss, it's wet, mushrooms are growing. Just dropping that growth in full strength. This is all wet, so it will mix and blend. And maybe we have a few shoots of grass that are that color too. Here we go. I need my forget-me-nots, their centers to be yellow, so we might as well do that while we're over here. And we'll finish off the top. But not quite that yellow. There we go. I'm just putting a dot, and if I still see white around it, it doesn't bother me. There we go. I can get my dark brown in here now. Those are dry enough. Have a great rest of your day, Teresa. There we go. I'm going to give this one just a little bit of line right here. Just kind of give it a little separation. That color's not quite as dark as I want it to be, but this side did have two coats on it, so it might require the same. Actually, I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna be needing this plate again soon anyway. Let's see if we can't make it a little bit darker. Much better. Now, I want some shadow on my stems. There we go. There we go. There's the little mushrooms. Let's finish this guy off. To do these, I want them, so these are usually blue in color, or some are almost white, like really, really pale blue. Some are really bold blue. So we are just going to wet the petal. Wet that petal. We're going to wet this petal. I got a little too much water on that. Just dry my brush and just picking up a little bit of the excess. Perfect. All right, and then we're going to drop the blue in. I'm just going to take the blue from over here. Don't need to re-wet my brush. I just need to barely get that blue wet again. And I'm going to just paint just along the edge. All right, I need more than that. And I'm just pulling towards the center. Sorry, I know that was a little quick when I spun that around. That's more of what I want right there. Let me get back to this other side and do the same thing again. More blue in it. And I'm just going to let that move on its own. I want a little bit more of this brighter blue. I'm going to drop some of that in as well. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to work on the bottom of the lupin, and then it's just the greenery, and we are done. And there's not much greenery here. It's just the stem of the lupin, the pansy, and the lupin flower. Okay. So now I need a darker purple, deeper. It needs to be a deeper color than I had for the top. So we're going to bring this palette back over here. Here was my color from the top, and I'm just going to give this a little spritz. Reactivate that. And we are going to work on making it deeper with what we've got here. Perfect. That'll work. Let's give that a go. Getting all the excess moisture out of my brush. So then on the bottom ones, I want to be a little bit further out and curve. It's not dark enough. I'm going to take some of this like neutral tint I had mixed up. I think it's just too much water and it just doesn't have enough saturation. I don't know if I touched my paper. I've got something right there. Hopefully it will lift out. I don't see, oh, it probably did right there with my hand. See the green? I touched something. Pause and see if I can't get that off of there before it's like stained into the paper. Nope, I think it is too late, but clean my hand up so we don't do it again. All right, I'm going to turn this. I have lupins this color. They're like a purple on the bottom and almost like fuchsia at the top of the, you know, the part that sits at the top. Okay. Anybody that has seen lupins before, by the time this is done, they'll know. That's a lupin. Now that is loose. You know, this is more loose. I can't get all my flowers like that. The brain just says, no, sorry. Nice try. Trying to be careful not to mess up my pansy there. Okay, that needs to dry. This is dry enough that I can put the details in the center while that's drying. Hopefully we won't be about another 5 minutes. And we'll have her all wrapped up. This to have more red to it. I'm looking for like a nice deep red. Almost like maroon. Okay. Make sure there's nothing on my hand this time. Go. Actually, no, I'm not going to darken it up. I think I really like the way that one came out. And let's go ahead. Let's do way too much water on the brush. Really work these colors together. I'm working this blue and red and want a nice dark color. My center. Just darkening up my lines. If they're not exact, it's okay. There we go. There's that one. While I have this dark on my brush, I'm going to put in some texture on the center of these flowers. I just need this to dry a little bit more before I come in with that last green. So while I'm waiting on that, I'll just do a little bit of shadow on these guys. Some lines down our petals. That one is in the background. All right. We are done with that. Let's work on this greenery. I'm just going to use the green that's on my palette. It'll be different than this green. Now lupin leaves, it has a stalk that comes up, and then the leaves open almost like a daisy opens, and there's definitely a distinct like almost dot, and there's like lines that come down the leaves to the center, and it actually almost leaves a dot right in that center. Again, sorry, I know I'm spinning this. It's definitely easier to paint it that way. All right, so we're just going to leave that one little white space right there. I'll darken that up in a minute. I just need that to absorb into the paper a little bit more first. Next up is our lupin. So now the lupin stalk comes up, and it actually goes right up, completely through the center. And then at the top, before they all bloom, you actually have like little buds, if you would, that are green flowers that haven't, part of the flowers that haven't opened, and like these will die down, and it'll just keep, the flower will just keep moving like right up the stalk. So we're just going to throw that in there. And then each of these kind of tie back. I want it darker. You kind of tie back to the center. Probably could have caught that from the underside. That's all right, because these will come in on this side. And I'm just darkening up the stalk so that we have a difference between the buds and the stalk of the flower. And let's get this done in. Usually it's like the leaves are darker. They're a different green than this too, but the leaves are darker and the center of the, like the vein of the leaf is really light. But we're just going to do it that way. Just need my pansy. And I'm just putting in, we've got that lavender floating out there. It needs something to hold it. And you can't touch it and move your hand. I'm being terrible about putting my hand on my painting. And I don't know about you guys, but I think maybe yeah, I'm gonna go about there. Actually, before I get rid of that, these may be much bigger, meaning the stalks that I'm bringing down. I don't know. Lavender is something I've never picked. I've never seen it growing. I know what it looks like, but I personally haven't picked it or seen it. We're just going to go with this nice deep purplish color we have right here. Just throw a couple more sprigs in. Thank you, Tara. Okay, so yeah, quick, loose florals, I am not. Definitely not. I certainly have to have a plan. And a lot of that I know is just because I haven't done them enough. You know, I'm not intimidated by them, but I haven't done them enough to where I have, you know, it set in my mind, oh, well, I could just do whatever, and it would be these flowers, which would go great together, or, you know, anything like that. So there we have it. All right, I'm just going to pull this out of the way. Now, I told you I would show you how this comes off of here. So once again, this is the Art for Joy's Sake palette by Christy Rice. And you just take this your little tool here, and you set it in. There's a little spot right here, right there. And you can just set that in and work your way around it. I don't want to touch the top because we know that the part of that is still wet. Here we go. So that was our pad of watercolor paper. Again, Rob got that off of Temu, but I do have some watercolor pads linked in the description below. The paints and the brushes that I used today are linked in the description below. And I think, how do we like that? Is we like it like that? Do we like it kind of turn with the mushrooms growing sideways? I'm not sure. Let me get back to where I can see you guys. There. So let me just give you a close-up. Look at the lupin. I love the way the lupin came out. See, at first it didn't look like much, but now it looks like lupin. The leaf isn't exactly anatomically correct, but that's okay. We have our little pansy. And how about the hydrangea? You guys like it? I like the hydrangea. I think the hydrangea, on my first attempt, like the mushrooms were actually one of my favorite things. And I loved those pansies. And I did end up liking the hydrangea. But look at that. I think the lupin turned out to be one of my favorite parts. But I love the hydrangea. And I just didn't think I was going to be very good at painting those. And you know what? You can surprise even yourself. So there we have it. Just a, weird, wonky, which way do you want to turn it? I don't know. I'm saying this way. Round floral. You could write something over here, fill the whole thing. I have another idea of something I want to do with this, and we might do something on that next week. So I might use this again, the paper again next week. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. Don't hold me to it. I'm just gonna be like, not gonna say anymore. But guys, if you are still here and watching, thanks for sticking with me. If you are catching the rest of this on the replay because you had to go, thanks for coming back. And if you're just catching it on the replay, I am glad you're here. So please do all the things. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. We are so close to our goal. Thank you to all of my patrons. And I'm going to go ahead and pop another video up. It's going to pop up right about over here that you might like to watch next. That'll be after the replay comes. And yeah, there you go, right there. All right, have a great rest of your day. Thank you to my mods, Tara and Joseph. They both have channels. They are linked below. Please do check them out. And I will see you guys live again next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Bye, everybody.